I'll just pause. How we doing? We're good? We're good? Yeah, we're good. Okay. Feels like I should have done something else. While I wait for the video to start, my name is Sebastian and welcome again to Rin Furniture. We are back on the finger jointing armrest table today, and we're going to try and do this in one take, just me talking. I've never done this before. So first thing we've got to do, I'm just going to be looking at, my head will go up and down, left and right. Make sure I have to have the volume off so you can't hear me. Hear me? I don't even know what I said then. So first thing we've got to do is do a bit of a recap of what happened last time, which was sometime last year. We were obviously trying to make a template that I've just made. This little thing here. Problem is there really a second problem? I'm going to have to make up a template. It's going to be very difficult to get that in there. 7 pieces minus 1 mil. How can I get minus 1 mil? I literally cut myself off. We were trying to make an armrest table. Of course, we had got as far as trying about 3 different methods. We're now building the 4th method or 3rd method. I'll have to check on that later. And the next thing that we're going to do is we've put a fence together, but we need to make another fence. And this is me trying to show you that. Well, I'm not too sure which camera is going to pick up my face because we've got 3. It is currently raining, so I've put up this blue marquee. Everything's going to look a little bit dull, but hopefully you'll get to see what's going on. Today what we're going to be doing is essentially putting this in the correct location. Now obviously previously we had a problem with getting it lined up. It's too tight. So today we're going to loosen it, and we're going to do that by doing, so obviously yesterday I put this on, this fence. This is the back fence, I guess. I say obviously, but it's not obvious to you. It was obvious to me. This is me taking the fence off and putting on the fence. I essentially made one fence and realized I couldn't adjust it. So I thought, well, how about I make another fence and put a fence in front of it, and then one can be fixed and one can adjust. And sometimes I do the old Dutch shooting with the drill. I am trimming off some of the glue. I think it's glue, or maybe it's just little bits of wood, with a flush cutting saw. And we are ready to go. And this is the little guide, I guess, with the piece of wood there. So what I need to do is be able to adjust it. And I thought of quite a few different ways to do it. Obviously I can line it up with where it was. That's where it was prior to yesterday. And that's too tight. So now I need to move it a little closer, just a fraction closer. But of course, if I've got screwed in to the base, that means I'm going to have to unscrew the screws, put new screw holes in. And then if I get it wrong, then I'm going to have to do it all over again. So that's really not going to work. So what I came up with was to drill a big hole here and a big hole on the back side, on the sides, and then use a clamp to stick it in the side, and then that can clamp it to the back. And then the piece of wood's going to go there, and then I can clamp that. That's the idea anyway. So the first thing we're going to do is cut some holes in here. Now the rain is still coming down, so you might get a lot of rain noise. There's not much I can do about that. I'm going to put on my thing and not talk. Headset, earmuffs, all of the words that I couldn't even remember, but I did when I... Anyway, I'm now drilling the holes, as you can see, and I'll flip it around so you can see. I love this blowing tool. This is amazing. It is one of the best tools I've ever bought. Go out and buy one if you do this kind of work. So you can see there, I have drilled holes on the side, and those holes will facilitate those clamps. And I look even cooler with the goggles on, and I'm blowing everything away with like air. So they fit in there nice and snug. It was a really cool idea. I thought this is cool. I can clamp it really tightly so it's not going to move. I can also clamp the base to the table. I'm not entirely sure I got the orientation right. Was it better to go away from me, or was it better to go toward me? I also had lots of offcuts, cuts of wood that had all of the trial of fingers on there, trialing the test cuts. I am not getting my words right today. I did a bit of a stupid thing there. I should have clamped that wood, is basically what I'm trying to say. But I do here, clamp a lot of it together. And now we are going to give this sliding table a go. It blows a lot of smoke, and so I also have to spray, fan, blow all the wood away. And this is me testing it. It didn't fit particularly well, which can only mean one thing: I have to readjust. I broke out my oldest file and filed it so I could have another crack at it. Okay, I probably could bash that together, but I'm not entirely sure I should. I'll give it a go though. I mean, it's a good fit, but I think it's still not quite enough. We are going to try and smash that in, and we're going to use my new hammer to do it. Ooh. You can't see it, sorry, I just can't. Well, there you go. That's why it's too tight, and that's why I'm doing these tests. We're going to try two things. We're going to move it this way a bit more, just a bit more. Now, what I do need to do is mark it. You'd think that I'd have a really thin pencil, which I do. So we're going to put T tight, T1 for tight, T1 for tight, and that can tell me where exactly that alignment is. Okay, now to get it further over, we're going to give it a bit of a tap, and that's basically one pencil line, which is a bit of a gap there. Okay. Take two. So the second take of cutting this stuff after some of those adjustments went okay. As you can see, that bit, again, can't find the words, still trying to do this in one take. It just is probably by now it's a little bit blunt. I'm also using the blower to not only clear away the chips, but I kind of think maybe it's getting too hot and that's why it's not cutting so well. If you know much about metal, you probably know that when metal gets hard, it loses its temper. A little bit like me in the car when I'm driving. And of course, that bit was getting very temper.
Oh, oh, oh. Well, that's pretty tight. It's not tight, but it's pretty good. So let's raise the bit on one bit.
And then I raised the bit. This actually turned out to be a little bit of a problem. The real issue with doing a lot of these bits, small cuts, is that you need the precision. That's the first thing you need. And you also need repeatability. To get precision is difficult with wood and inexpensive tools. And repeatability is really just how clever can you be as a woodworker. You can see that I'm struggling.
So it could be a bit tighter, but the great thing about it is I've marked it. I don't know why I'm talking.
Yeah, I don't know why I'm talking either.
If it goes that way, it'd be perfect. But fall in love.
At this point, I took a bit of a break. I think my brain was getting a little bit frazzled. I had something to eat. Can you guess what I had? It wasn't cereal. It was eaten a little bit of last night's dinner. Chicken tikka. And then I get back into it. Give it a bit of a tap. With that serious amount of grip on those clamps, that's not going anywhere. So as an adjustment feature, it works really well. I can make the bit go up and down. I can make the jig go left and right to get my alignment really good. So we'll see how we go with the bit being raised, and we'll essentially start again. Yeah, that wasn't a good start. And a quick check. It's still a bit tight. So break out the file. Now I do this process where I cut a bit and file it, cut it, file it, adjust, file it. You will see a repeat of this over and over. I'm burning out the bit, so I get the blower and try and cool the bit down. Hopefully that might help. I actually don't know whether that does help or not. I don't think it actually helped in this instance. and then I touch it just to make sure. It was off, by the way. So back at it, trying to cut those fingers and trying to bash them together, unfortunately. I kind of ran out of wood. Well, ran out of the offcuts that I cut. I have tons of other wood. I just need to go and find more. And I want to make sure that I'm using an analog piece of wood that's similar to the dimensions that I might be using. So I cut it just so I could get a feel of how it's going to feel when I'm actually driving it through. The other idea that I had is if I basically put something underneath the piece of wood like this, I can adjust the height, and then I can just take those pieces of wood away or put them back on, and then I can get the height right. That was kind of the idea. If you're enjoying my videos, I'd really appreciate it if you gave it a bit of a like, and if you're enjoying them so much that you want to give them a like, maybe you could give me a subscription. Give me a subscription? You could just subscribe to my channel, or you could give me a subscription. I don't quite know what that would mean. So now we'll try it with the raised bed. Hard to know what you could call this. More filing and adjusting. And now I'm going to try, well, more adjusting. That's really what it comes down to. Quite a bit of an adjustment. And I need to make more pieces of wood because I kept running out of it. I did it so many times. This was all shot in one day. And of course, yes, fair amount of fast forwarding. I think it took me maybe 6 hours of cutting, just basically trial and error. And this is probably a good example of how those little pieces of woodwork kind of fit in a little. So I kept on going and raised the bit as I went. But then when I got to the very end, I pulled the little pieces of wood off. I mean, I wasn't that strong, but I pulled the pieces of wood off, and that gave me the ability to put it all the way down. I think the main reason why I had that problem was because I couldn't actually get the depth into the piece of wood that I needed. And off we go again. And now I'm getting the full depth. This is as much depth as I can get with this jig, with this tool, and with this bit. You can see I've got two pieces there. Hopefully, fingers crossed, they are going to interlock. With a little bit of filing, of course. Here we go, drum roll. Well, there you go. It kind of worked. Those fingers went together and the gap was sufficient enough that I won't need to fill it when I go about doing it, finishing it off. And the gap wasn't too tight, so I didn't smash it to bits when I put it together. So what does that mean? Well, next week we will find out exactly how that's going to happen. I hope you have enjoyed this video. There are more attempts of me trying to do this in various different ways. And you've probably figured out that it's taking quite a bit of time to get this done. But the end result, well, we actually use it all the time. So I'll see you next week. And in the interim, well, have a great week. See ya. Okay, now I can go back to drinking my tea. Oh. That's what this noise was. The little disco ball. I hope that's not too loud on the audio.